Welcome to Around the House, sponsored by Romac Building Supply. I'm your host, Don Magruder. Today we have a special show because we're going to have an in-depth discussion about the housing market here in Lake and Sumter County. There's a lot of questions and a lot of people are trying to decide whether they're going to buy or sell now or even build. And we want to give you the facts as they are at the end of March 2021. Joining me is Tammy Dunseath. She's a broker associate with Remax Premier Realty. Tammy is wired up. She understands the real estate market here in Lake and Sumter County. So we're going to have an amazing discussion, and I hope you enjoy it. First off, Tammy, the markets are just absolutely on fire, aren't they?
It's crazy. I don't know. I mean, I think fire is a good word, but I almost think it's like it's craziness.
And I guess the first thing we want to say, and we had this discussion off air, was this market has nothing to do with like 2004 to 2006. Totally different market.
Absolutely.
How do you see it from your perspective?
Well, and the reason why I think it's crazy, not on fire, is because of the number of sales. So there's a ton of buyers out there, but there's so low inventory. So we actually have so much busyness with trying to get buyers' homes, but we have very few homes to choose from. So sales are actually down quite a bit. And so it's a different kind of market in the sense that we are hustling to find people, to get people in. Home prices are going up slightly, but they're not going up crazy. And we discussed this before we got on, and it's because appraisals aren't going up. You know, people are smart because of the crisis back in the early 2000s. Buyers are smart. They're not overpaying for homes. Appraisers aren't appraising. They're going with sales. They're going with past sales, so they're not over appraising homes. And lenders are being sticklers to the new lending laws, right? So they are making it challenging to buy homes. A lot of buyers are qualified and they're looking for homes. But we have something like a 300% reduction in inventory from 5 years ago, and that is making it a really challenging market. And
from our perspective, Tammy, from the building supply and construction sector, we're not seeing the speculative building. A lot of people would like to put spec homes out, but as soon as they build a home, it's sold. It's sold immediately. So nobody has inventory sitting. There's nobody building inventory. Lots are harder to come by, and it's just a totally different market. You know, in 2005, 2006, you had people buying spec homes for future sales. So when people make a comparison to 2005, 2006, first off, there's not speculation. The other thing, and I guess the best way to summarize, people who are buying these homes, they're living in them. They are. They're all end users, and they're not grossly overpaying for homes. You know, like in 2005 and 2006, those prices went ridiculously over the top. We saw, if we look at some statistics, from this time last year to this year, prices have increased a little bit more than normal, more than that 3% increase we expect. It's more like 5% to 7%. But what's happening is in the early 2000s, banks were giving away money like there was no tomorrow. There wasn't any kind of regulation on financing. And so people could just go ahead and get loans that they couldn't afford. And sellers could overprice their homes. And we have even caught up to the sale prices back in 2004 and 5 and 6. We're still not seeing homes at those prices. We're just on the outskirts of the villages, just on the edge of Harbor Hills. This is probably one of the hottest spots in all America. People are wanting to live right in this area, and there's just not enough homes, are there? There isn't. I shared a stat the other day, and I just took like Lake, Marion, and Sumter County. That's our little tri-county area here where people love to be at. We're Central Florida. We're close to everything that's great in life. We're close to the coast. We're close to the city. We're close to the villages. In 2016, there was 8,300 and change houses on the market in this month. In 2021, there's 3,100 houses in this tri-county area that are active on the market today. I mean, that is such a difference. But we have about 100% more. Like in 2016, we had 800 sales in this month, right? We had 1,500 sales in February of this year. So we have twice as many homes selling, a third of the houses on the market, and then still we have way more buyers coming down wanting to find homes that are not finding their homes yet, that are still looking. So Tammy, I want to go back to something you alluded to earlier. You talked about appraisals. We have seen massive inflation in the building material sector, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But I understand people are making offers and they're not appraising for. So if someone makes an offer and it doesn't appraise for, what do they have to do? Well, it depends on the type of loan they have. If they have an FHA or a VA loan,
It has to appraise, otherwise they won't get the financing. Unless they put so much down that they have already so much equity in the home, and then they can either get the make up the difference financially on their own. If it's a conventional loan, or if it's cash, of course, appraisal doesn't really matter.
Let me interrupt there. There's a lot of the new buyers coming to Florida. It's a lot of cash buyers.
There's a lot of cash buyers. Housing prices all over the country are high, right? So there's people selling up north and moving down here, and they have enough, equity in that home up there that they can buy cash here. So cash, they don't worry about appraisal. Conventional, they just, again, you don't have to make up that appraisal. You can, if it's underappraised, you can still buy the home. You just can only get, so much financing for it, but you can put enough cash into it.
And I think one thing that's happening here in Florida is because of the pandemic, you have the millennials now who have discovered they do want a home. Because of some unrest issues up north, you have people that are wanting to leave the big cities. But most importantly, since the pandemic, you don't have to live in New York City or Detroit to work for a big corporation. A lot of homes are serving now as offices. In fact, one of the biggest things we're seeing on our side of the fence is people are building homes with offices to do business. Is that something important to customers today?
Yeah. I actually was been out with a buyer this week, and we have an offer in with their, for them, and they have the same situation. They're going to keep their jobs, but because they're working out of their home, they want to move down here, and they needed that fourth room for an office, so that was really important to them, finding that home with that fourth room. So, happening all the time.
Well, Tammy, I want to discuss a little bit about what's going on with the building material sector, because that's driving a lot of this boat. As most people know, building materials have taken record increases. At the Romac Building Supply, since April 2005, I've done a whole house commodity index. And what we do, we've taken a 2,200 square foot home, and what we do is we calculate every month the wholesale prices to build the structural part of that home. From the foundation to the rooftop, we don't include decor, electrical, plumbing, or HVAC, or labor. But this is just the build materials to build this house. And probably the most stunning thing that we picked up on recently is the pandemic started in mid-March of 2020. Since March 2020 to March 2021, just 1 year, our whole house index has gone up a whopping 45.8%. So if you bought the same build materials of March last year, you're going to pay 45% more. And it's really stunning, the prices. I want to give you some examples that are real world. For example, a piece of 7/16 OSB, that's what you put on the roof or on the sides, it's gone up $17.67 a sheet. A piece of 5/8 CDX, which you use for the roof, is gone up $23.10 a sheet. Understand, it's added $23 for one sheet. A stud, which you use in the wall, has gone up 119%, or $3.51 a piece. And a 2x4 piece of 16 spruce, which goes all throughout the house, each stick has gone up $6.45. This massive inflation in the building material sector is caused by several things. Believe it or not, the core problems is labor and the foreign supply line. The trade deals for the last few years have just made the United States not the premium trade partner it used to be. So there's a lot of issues happening, and people ask all the time, well, when do we see these prices going down? We don't see them going down because we don't know how this resolves. In fact, to be honest with you, as the pandemic resolves, the virus resolves, and people get vaccines, we think the market will heat up even further in the third and fourth quarter. So from a housing standpoint and a building material standpoint, we see little changes coming down the line this year. This may be a 1 or 2 year event, in fact. So taking what I'm discussing as far as building material prices and what land prices are doing, it's going to be a tough market for people wanting to buy a home, isn't it?
It is, and as we talked often, it's going to be very competitive with new construction and pre-owned. And in a way, I like to see things through the lens of a home seller or pre-owned homes, right? Where a year ago we couldn't compete with new construction. New construction always kind of was a little bit more affordable, But now they're side by side competing with each other with the increase in labor or with material costs, right? So new construction is costing more. Pre-owned homes are in a, kind of up there too. So we have a real competitive market with the pre-owned and new construction. But at the same time, because new construction is taking longer to build, still we have a supply, low supply.
And that's something we hadn't even discussed. So, we've seen in the last year since the pandemic started. I'll give you a prime example. PGT windows is a major window here in Florida. Lead times were 2 to 4 weeks. Now they're 23 to 32 weeks on most of their line. Other window lines that were 2 weeks are now 14 to 16 weeks. We're seeing shortages and everything, allocations on doors and so. The build times have grown extensively, so that's not going to resolve itself anytime soon. So we're seeing a lot of issues, and people always ask, well, can I build cheaper than I can buy? No, the answer is no. I don't think you can anymore.
Yeah.
So I guess what would be your advice if someone's looking for a home? I guess if you find that home, you better make that offer
You
quick.
better, and you know what, and again, because people are pricing to sell, we're not overpricing homes. I think new construction and pre-owned, people aren't in the habit of overpricing because they want to see a real competitive price point on their home. You go in there with a solid, strong offer. No lowballing. It's not going to happen because we're multiple offers and it might not even be responded to. So you jump on it and you jump on it quick.
So I think you're going to see a hot market. It's going to continue. If you want to sell your house, now's a great time to sell. But the problem is if you sell it, you better know where you're going.
Well, yeah, you have to be creative too. If you sell it, it's a great time for people who want to downsize. I mean, especially because you're going to have that kind of extra equity in your home. It's a great time if you've got some kind of a second home, so you can have a place to be patient in, and if you can be creative. But it's great for investors because even when we see things like this happening, we know always the rental market's good and it's going to get better. I don't think it's going to, again, we're not expecting like this crash that we saw in 2004, 5, and 6. But it's a great time if you have the cash and you can snatch those homes up quickly. It's good for investors as well.
And then I also think it's a great time if you're not in a position that you really want to move. Now it's the time to remodel, because your remodels before, for the last decade, if you did a remodel on your house, a lot of times appraisals wouldn't come out and you were basically doing remodel just for your lifestyle. Yeah. Now a remodel where you're adding an office or adding an additional room, that's a value proposition on the sale of your home, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, remodels have gone up a ton. It's always okay to improve your home if it's the right improvements, of course. It's always good to make it bigger, to make it better, and to do those upgrades. Yeah, absolutely.
Tammy Dunseath, if people had questions about buying or selling a home, what's a good number they can reach you at?
So you can reach me at 352-512-4419. Again, that's 352-512-4419. And thanks so much, Dawn, for having me with you today.
We're going to do this often because the housing markets are very important. And if you'd like a copy of the Whole House Commodity Index, go to inquiry@romacfl.com, and we'll put you on the list, and you can receive the Whole House Commodity Update so you know what's going on with the market. I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. We're trying to give you great information about what's going on here in the local housing market. Until next time, we will see you around the house.